Welcome into the Dad Verb Podcast, where we chat about parenting from the lens of a dad. My name is Andrew, and I am joined by Ben Brown. Happy belated birthday, Ben. You are 1 year older now. How are we doing?
I am indeed. Feeling pretty good. Feeling, a little wrinklier, a little more sore. Everything hurts a little bit more.
How old are you now?
But yeah, good. 36.
30. Oh, 36.
Yeah, 36 with 2 kids. Okay. I know.
Dude,
I'm one step closer to 40.
I know. I'm right there with you. I'm right behind you at 35. Am I 35 or am I 34? I think I'm 35. I'm 35. I'm at the age where I forgot my age. Dude.
Yeah, I do it all the time. I had to figure out how old I was going to be this year. It took me a while to figure it out. The only reason I really know is because my wife is a couple weeks older than me. So it's just whatever she turns, I know I'm that like 2 weeks later.
Yeah. So you're born in 88 or
87. Yeah, middle of 87,
gotcha.
June of 87. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, we are here to recap a little bit of Father's Day, which just happened last Sunday, and kind of touch base on that as it's a holiday. It's just a little bit relevant to us, and then we're gonna run through a couple other topics, including what we look for in a stroller. What else do we have on the docket today, man?
Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit about Father's Day. I'm interested to see, what you did. I think it's always cool to see what other dads do or get or experience on Father's Day and kind of how the family shows up for that. And then if you could design, I want to talk about if you could design a Father's Day, what would be your perfect Father's Day? If you could say, money's no object, I can do anything I want, what would you do on Father's Day?
Right.
And then after that, I know some of the folks may know in the audience, we, both of us actually had partnerships with Veer, one of our favorite companies out there, right? They make great stroller wagons and a lot of different accessories. But both of us had partnerships with Veer over Father's Day to give away some really cool stuff. I think you were giving away like a family base camp, and I know I was giving away one of their switchback stroller systems.
Oh, yeah, I think it's awesome too.
It got me thinking, like, since we both are in this space where we're reviewing a lot of like baby gear and that involves a lot of strollers, what do you actually look for in a stroller? Because I think that'll be super helpful for some of the dads out there who either aren't dads yet and are looking for new gear, or for somebody who's looking to replace a stroller that they already have. And then last up, I think it's important, and we've talked about this on the podcast before, for dads to talk about how they can continue to improve themselves, right? Because we want to improve how we show up for our families, our partners, and our kids. So I want to see, what's something that you learned last week or this week, and what's something that you want to improve on next week. So how can we get a little bit better, and what's something that we learned? So we got a lot to talk about here, so we're going to go ahead and dive right in. Andrew, how was your Father's Day?
My Father's Day was actually pretty awesome. My wife, so either for Mother's Day or Father's Day, what we basically do is the parent who's being celebrated gets to sleep in, stay in bed. They don't have to get the kids up or anything like that. And then other parent, in this case, my wife, she'll get up, prep breakfast, and then deliver breakfast in bed. And that's what I did for her on Mother's Day. It's what she did for me. She cooked up some eggs, sausage, peppers, all the good stuff, some fruit. And yeah, it was great. I just started my morning chill, just watching some TV, eating. And then the rest of the day was really chill. We ended up kind of going to church, even though I didn't really want to that day. But we went anyway. And then after that, we went to my in-laws' house. And we kind of had a broader Father's Day celebration where it was me, my brother-in-law, and my father-in-law. We were all just kind of hanging out at the pool with the kids. Sienna was napping for a good chunk of it. And then the wives were hanging out. And then when around dinner time, they kind of got together and they asked like what we wanted to have as a Father's Day dinner. We opted for like a Mediterranean type thing. So we had some, it was a really delicious thing. We had like we grilled up some lamb. We had farro, which is kind of like this, I don't know, like how to describe it. It's like a quinoa type thing with all these types of, and then we had like
grain. It's like an ancient grain. Yeah,
exactly. So it was kind of along the lines of healthy, but like super delicious. And we had like a bunch of these Mediterranean style sides, like like what was it? It was like a cucumber tomato cut up type thing, and then we had like watermelon doused with like lime juice and mint. It was like a really fun Mediterranean healthy dinner that the girls cooked up for us. I mean, we helped with the lamb grilling that up, but other than that, yeah, it was all just about spending time with family for the most part. So, and I didn't get to change poopy diapers, so that was my treat as well. What about you, man?
No poops. That was your treat.
Yeah, exactly. So otherwise, it was pretty good.
It was real solid.
So
yeah, my Father's Day was super solid. It was so I am fortunate, and my wife is kind of unfortunate in that my birthday and Father's Day basically fall in the same weekend every year.
Yeah.
So I more or less get to celebrate like a couple days in a row. But yeah, my big treat this year was for the day before Father's Day as kind of like a birthday gift. I got to go play a round of golf with a couple buddies of mine, which I don't get to get out and play too much. But it was great to, just get a super early tee time on a beautiful course and just go out and, just ride around on a golf course, be outside, enjoy the weather. This is one of the things you always kind of get afraid of when you're going to the golf course with three guys is you're always going to get paired with a fourth on a busy day.
Right.
And like sometimes your fourth is a weirdo or like a scratch golfer and they're really, really good. But luckily we got a guy who was like really nice and the same ability as all of us. So, nobody was really, man. Much better than anybody else. We all shot like in the, I think 80s to 90s.
See, that makes the whole experience so enjoyable when you've got like an equal playing field. Like, I've been playing a lot of pickleball lately and we're not good, but we've got a crew of guys we're all like the same level, which is really nice. When you've got like one guy like dominates, you're just like, oh my gosh. So it's hard. It kind of gets
nobody wants to play with him.
No, exactly.
100%.
That's cool though.
Yeah, so we played a good round, came back home. My wife had set up like a birthday party for me. So we had like a bunch of our neighbors and my mom and some family members over and just had like a super kind of low key hangout in the new backyard. Just with a bunch of people and some really good food and really just enjoy the weather and being outside. Had a bunch of kids over, so everybody was playing in the splash pad and doing all kinds of stuff. So really, really, really killer Saturday. And then Sunday, I played a little bit more golf on Father's Day. So we took the family to Top Golf because my son loves to play golf too.
That's awesome.
So at 2, he's got like his own set of golf clubs and he's really getting into like learning how to swing and actually hit the ball out.
Nice.
So we went to Top Golf, spent a couple hours there. And then I think we did like some kind of dinner at home. I'm trying to remember now exactly what we did, but it was pretty relaxed. It was a very like nice, relaxing weekend. Lots of time with family, and lots of time just kind of operating without a super solid plan, but just trying to enjoy the moment as much as we could.
Dude, it sounds like you had like a Father's Day weekend, not just day. You had a full, good
I legitimately
weekend,
did.
which is a good way to say. Okay, so this kind of leads us to the other half of the question, which is building your ideal Father's Day, right? And that's like if you didn't have to worry about money, if you didn't have to worry about anything like that, what would an ideal Father's Day be for you? And I feel like what you laid out was actually pretty good, but like what in your head, what would be like optimal Father's Day celebration?
I honestly think like the weekend I had is pretty close. It's pretty close to exactly what I would want to do. Like maybe I think I might expand it to like more people, right? Like instead of playing with like 4 guys, I'd take like a bunch of my best buddies and just play like a crazy golf course somewhere.
Right.
Go play, Pinehurst or Augusta or something you're never going to do again, right? Like you're going to play this incredible course. You're never going to be able to do it again. Again, we're talking pure fantasy here, right? These are things that are never going to happen.
Yes.
I've been following this Instagram that talks about like these incredible golf courses, and there's one, I think it's in Africa, where it's like the 18th hole. I think it's in Cape Town, South Africa, and the 18th hole is like up on the side of a mountain, and you have to get there by helicopter. and you have to hit down. The hole is actually below you, so you have to hit it off the side of a mountain and down to this hole.
Baller
it's
is that,
wild.
man?
And I was like, that would be just a sick. Now, obviously, I'm not going to get home in time to celebrate Father's Day with everybody if that's like the trip.
Yeah. You got to
But,
time management is part of the whole thing.
Yeah. In fantasy land, that doesn't matter. I could go play golf in South Africa and make it home for dinner.
I mean, yeah.
But yeah, I would love to go play just like a killer golf course with a bunch of my friends. Come home, see my kids, have a great dinner. Honestly, I don't even know if I'd want to do a dinner out. I think I'd want to do dinner at home with my family. And just enjoy like a relaxing evening with my wife. Like that's it. That's really like it feels like the adventure part is like such a complex thing, but the rest of it I feel like is so simple because like that's what I want and that's what's important to me at this point in my life.
Dude.
What about you? I want to hear what's your perfect Father's Day.
It's weird. I mean, I'm going to fully admit it. I want nothing to do with my kids, like straight up. Like I don't want them there. I don't want it there. I mean,
you want a break?
No, yeah, of course I do. Of course, I love my kids, but like, no. So for me, morning would probably start with. I just like being either physical and active, so I would love to just play like a bunch of pickup basketball, like nonstop, play as many games on like a super nice court that I'll like see on Instagram way too often. It's just I don't know, something like really cool with like all these glass windows or whatever, just like a beautiful hardwood and just playing for hours with a couple buddies and just getting a sweat out. It would either be that or playing in a Pokemon TCG tournament. So one or the other. I might lean more basketball, but I nerd out. Okay, I nerd out. So that was kind of
hard. That's pretty hardcore nerdy.
Oh yeah, exactly. So just celebrating with other dads, really enjoying just chatting, and then just getting a hearty lunch at In-N-Out, something simple. I'm easy to please, right? Just burger, right? And then go home, hang out with the wife, maybe sex, but then she might have a headache. I don't know. We'll see. And then it would just be hanging out with my wife for the rest of the night. Maybe going to an awesome dinner, doing just something fun, whether it's bowling or hanging out, or it could be something as simple as watching Netflix. We often go to a local Japanese place, get sushi, just a bunch of rolls, and just watch TV. Honestly, that it doesn't even have to be like a big travel or anything like that. Just sitting at home, eating a bunch of sushi. And just watching her shows, just hanging out with my wife, just me and wife time. I think it would be really fun. So first half friends.
That's hard to come by these days, man. Especially with you having 3 kids. Like that's hard to come by, those relaxing nights with just you and your spouse.
I'd love to be doing it right now, but I got to be talking to you, Ben. So no, I'm playing.
Well, I appreciate you being here. No. I walk downstairs and my wife is like, the kids are in bed. She's sitting on the couch and she had her headphones in. And she's like working on her coloring book. So she's actually having like a very nice, relaxing evening.
That's actually
because
really
I'm
sweet.
Up here doing this. So like she doesn't have to watch any of my dumb shows that she doesn't really want to watch. And she can just sit and like concentrate on doing something she enjoys. So she's like got her colored pencils out and she's just sitting there like relaxing with her coloring book. And I'm like really a little bit jealous because I saw it and I was like, man, that looks super just like mind-numbingly simple.
Dude. Wait, hold on. I'm going to show you something.
All right,
here it is. So if you're watching on the YouTubes, I got myself this coloring book. It's called Dad Life, and it's called #Dad Life. It's just a simple coloring book, and it's like this like legit like complex coloring things that you can do. It's like a standard coloring book for adults, but it's like really relaxing to be able to fill these in on like such a small level, and like I don't know,
so they like super detailed photos.
Yeah, they're super detailed photos, and you just sit there with markers or crayons or what have you, and just color. And it's like a coloring book for adults, but with a big dad twist to it, and it's super fun. I'd love to like design my own coloring book just like this. Just rip this idea and just sell it on Dad Verb. I think it'd be so fun. Yeah. Oh man,
it's like such a meditative experience to just sit there and veg out. And like there was a while where my wife and I, like at night, we would do puzzles. We would sit there and just like listen to music and drink wine and like do a puzzle.
Yeah.
And it was so nice.
Dude.
And it's something we haven't done in a long time. I feel like we need to get back to that, because that was like, it was such a relaxing way to like end the night. And it wasn't like we weren't going to be up until midnight watching Netflix because we, lost track of time. It was like, okay, we're going to sit here and actually like work together on something.
Dude, that's a really fun
thing. You guys
thing.
are looking
puzzles.
for like a good spouse activity. Yeah,
Sex.
and I'm not a big
puzzles.
I just don't. Well, sex is it too, but like puzzles. So here's the thing. Here's the thing we discovered is like you have to, when guys don't get to have sex, the challenge is usually you've waited too long and it's too late, right? Like it's 11 o'clock. You're like, okay, let's go to bed and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
The key is put the kids down. Have sex first, then go hang out.
Get out the way.
So get the sex out of the way first, then go hang out, and then it's like, oh, you can go to bed at a reasonable hour.
Dude, so this is so weird to say.
Perfect way to like set up an evening.
I would fully agree with you, because
here's the thing. That in the perfect Father's Day.
Right. Okay, so that's another weird thing. Like, because like we enjoy sex, right? Especially as guys, like we want it all the time. But there are plenty of times where like, yeah, like I'm in the mood, but at the same time, I'm like, it's the same way of like when I work out, where like I know it's good for me and I know it's like I want to do it, I enjoy it, but like I just getting this started, I'm just kind of like I don't want to. I'm good. I'm good. I don't want to put in the effort right now. You know what I'm
saying? Oh, your body just shuts off.
Oh yeah, I'm just like, man, it was a long day. I'm stressed. And I was like, So yeah, it's just so it's good to just like, right after the kids go down, and do you guys do it like spontaneously, or is it kind of planned like, hey, let's do tonight, or like
I feel like I don't know. I feel like it's a mix. It's a mixed bag. A lot of times it has to be spontaneously because you just have to catch the right mood and the right time, and if everybody had like a really difficult day, sometimes it's mentally just too much.
Yeah.
I feel like it's with everybody, right? You have to catch the right mood.
Yeah.
So that's always the challenge, I think, with everybody, is like the stars have to align for everybody to like be okay with this plan. And I feel like if you try to plan it out, you lose it. You're like, somebody's going to come home and be like, I'm gassy, or I'm tired, or I'm just like uncomfortable, or whatever, or I have, I have a headache, or whatever it is. Like, I mean, I'm exhausted too.
Yeah.
And it's, you hit those nights where you're like, it seems like a good idea, but it's like, you want to be into it, you want to enjoy it, and you want to make sure everybody's having a good time.
Yeah, man. That's how it would be. So, so to recap,
that's the plan. You got to just switch the schedule around.
Oh yeah. So yeah, for us, the spontaneity aspect has not been as much as before we had kids. So I'd say mostly kind of like, hey, Thursday night's going down, don't have a headache. Okay. So like kind of
Thursday night, take your bedroom.
It's always a damn headache. I feel like now that we're kind of like officially done having kids, I'm gonna get that snip soon. I feel like there's like our sex life is just a little bit more reinvigorated, because I don't know, it's just like, like there's light at the end of the tunnel. We're done having kids. Like this is like, hey, we can, there's no more reset buttons, as I always like to say, because every time you hit that reset button, a baby just like comes, and then you have to, it just switches things up, and you're in a completely different routine. It's just really difficult, right? The baby having years, it's a very weird time, and you don't feel like yourself. You kind of in some ways feel like a shell of yourself. You're giving up so much. But when you kind of make that decision, be like, okay, no, we're done having kids. This is it. And this is our life. This is our family. We're set. And I'll start kind of growing up together. I don't know, like there's this mental shift that happened. At least it happened with me. And I don't know. It's just, it's been, I'd say more fun. It's been more fun, this year than it has been, in the last few years. I'm not saying that like life sucks, but it's been good.
No, and I think you're probably getting to a point where your kids are like more independent, right? Like they just they require less mental. I mean, I think when you get to like 2, 3, 4 years old, like they're really challenging. But I feel like once you get past, from what I've seen from my friends, once you get past that kind of 4-year-old stage, they get progressively easier because they are more independent. They're more able to do things for themselves, which means you have more mental and emotional capacity to just handle other things like focusing on intimacy with your spouse.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, it's like things can kind of start to change. Your focus is going to change. Your ability to like entertain the idea of intimacy is expanded, I think, at that point. Because you're out of that, like somebody doesn't constantly need you or constantly need to be touching you or constantly need to be held, which I think, a lot of partners get kind of touched out and they're just like, I can't deal with you being close to me.
That's a lot. A lot.
For anybody out there that feels like they're having a difficult time, there is light at the end of the tunnel. You just have to kind of figure it out and know that these years will probably be the hardest for intimacy with your partner. And they still are. Like for us, they still are. Like it's always a challenge. But it will, from what I've heard, it will get easier as the kids get a little bit older. So keep holding on, because you were there before the kids. You'll be there after the kids. So make sure to keep that spark alive for sure.
I've heard the same thing. So yeah, I think I would hope that we're kind of past that rough patch in that regard, and things start moving on. Yeah, it's just funny because I always hear even like with my wife's friends or whatever. It's like once we're officially done having kids, like that's when she gets hot again, like quote unquote hot again, right? I mean, they're always all gorgeous, but like that's when they're like, oh, you know what? No, I have more time to myself. I have more of that mental capacity to make time for myself and get back into the gym or start doing Pilates or doing whatever. And there's like this shift, and it's cool. Like even my wife, like she's never been, well, no, it's not she's never been the workout type. She enjoys it, but it's only now that because before we had kids, she liked doing yoga and stuff, but now she started making time for herself to start doing Pilates regularly, and she, and I'm like, cool. She's getting back into it, like, and I don't care whether she did or didn't, but she has the mental capacity to do so, and it's cool to see.
Well, that's awesome.
Real quick, before we move on to the next topic, I want to address our hat situation. If you're listening, you can't see what we're wearing right now. We're both wearing hats from a brand called Melon, who is not a sponsor, but I'm down for if I could be like official, dad sponsored by Melon Apparel or something like that. That'd be so sick, because this was my Father's Day.
That'd be amazing.
Wearing a Melon hat, MELIN Melon hat. I got it as a Father's Day gift for my wife, and I've heard of these hats, but I was just kind of like, whatever, dude. It's a good hat. It's a good.
Awesome.
I can't wear anything else. Like this is mine's called the A Game. Which one is yours?
Yep. So the one I'm wearing is the Trenches Icon Hydro. So they all have like kind of long names.
Yes.
But I have a big old dome.
Yeah.
And so I'm wearing it's like a 5-panel flat bill.
Yeah.
But the reason it's called the Hydro is it's actually hydrophobic, which means it's gonna shed a little bit of water. It's gonna be help get rid of that sweat.
Yep,
which I think yours probably is too.
Mine is too.
And then it also has like in the visor, it has a floating core. So like if I'm out on the lake and I drop this thing, it'll actually float to the surface, so I don't lose the hat. And I've had these. This is like my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. I think I have 5 total. And I love all of them. I've had great experiences. Their customer service, if you ever have an issue with a hat, I had one that it was like a light gray color and it stained, like my sweat stained it a couple times, and I cleaned it according to their directions, and it wouldn't come out. And I just sent them a message. I was like, hey, I cleaned it the way you told me to. It's not coming out. What do I do? And they were like, hey, don't worry about it. Just pick out another one of the same value. We'll send you a new hat. So we've talked about this before, right? Like killer customer service. Like I'm a real sucker for it.
That really defines a
spend
brand
a bunch of money
experience.
on like Lululemon pants and all this, Lululemon stuff. Cause like I walk into the store and they make sure I'm like taken care of, right?
Yeah.
Even though it's more expensive than everything else, like, if I ever have an issue, it's taken care of pretty immediately, which I can respect, and I'll spend the money for that.
Bro, you know one thing I
Melon
really
has
like?
been a great experience for sure.
Under the hat, right? There's like this little dot under the bill of the hat, and it's exactly in the spot that
right
you
there.
would put your thumb at, because it's the highest probability of where your thumb is going to be every time you take your hat on and off. And it's such a subtle thing, but it's such a good design choice, a good bit of branding, and it just adds to the whole feel of the hat. It's funny because up to this point I've been wearing like Lululemon hats, and Lululemon hats are straight up hot garbage compared to this
Oh, they're
Melon.
terrible.
So
They're terrible.
I would tell
their
you
apparel's
guys,
great. All their accessories are not fantastic.
dude, I would tell people listening to us right now rant about this freaking hat, like, go get it, but we're not being paid and we don't have affiliate links, so I'm gonna say don't go get it, and maybe we'll try to figure out some sort of affiliate thing, and then you come back to the next episode in the next couple of weeks, and then you go get it. Don't get it now. But
if
Melon,
anybody knows anybody at Melon or has some
hook us up.
connections, leave us a comment, shoot us a DM, let us know.
We'll
'Cause
be
we
good
would love
affiliate
to work with
marketers.
them.
Oh
We're big fans.
yo, we obviously are. This is only my first. This is my virgin hat. Okay, first time. Okay, I'm trying to get on your little
You'll
ad
have
5.
half a dozen before you know it. That's where I ended up.
Right. All right. Let's move on. Where are we at next?
All right. So we talked about sex. Sex makes babies, and babies need strollers. So since we did those like Father's Day giveaways with Veer, the one that I was giving away was actually their switch and roll stroller system.
Yep.
And looking at that, and I've got several reviews of strollers that are going to be coming out over like the next couple of months from different companies. You obviously have built your entire brand on doing in-depth reviews of baby gear, including a ton of strollers. And I feel like the more strollers I get my hands on, the more I understand what I'm looking for, and the more I realize I have preferences for certain things.
Yeah.
So for the dads that are out there that either, or soon to be dads, people that don't have any kids yet, or dads that are looking to maybe upgrade their stroller, get it something a little different, or the stroller they have just isn't fitting their needs, what do you look for in a stroller? Like, what are the things that either you look for that are going to be just honestly like instant, nope, I hate this, I don't like it, or instant wins, that you're going to love and know that something is going to be built well and last a long time?
Right. So this is going to be my personal list, what I personally look for based off of my experience and my lifestyle. The one thing about, shopping for a stroller or car seat or anything like that in the baby market is there isn't one best option. That's one thing that like a lot of people like to get hung up on. Like, well, what's the best thing? There isn't a best thing. The best thing is going to be what's best for you and your lifestyle. Okay. So that's going to hinge a lot on, where you live. If you live in a city, if you live in an urban area, if you live next to gravel roads or cobblestone or just clean sidewalks or whatever, if you're going out frequently, if you live on a farm, right? All these things are different and they're going to have an impact. For me, what do I look for? I personally, the biggest things are, I like a compact, lighter frame. That's just me. And I personally have liked brands like UPBaby because when they're folded, they have a slimmer profile, and it makes it a lot easier for me to get the stroller in and out of a little Honda Civic or small cars. And in our lifestyle, we're going in and out of the trunk very frequently. There are many times where we're not just going out and doing one stop, right? We go to like Target, and then we go to the bank, and then we go here, and then we go there, then we go to this restaurant, then we go to the, so we're going, we're parking, getting the kids loaded up, and going quite frequently. So for that reason, I personally like slimmer, compact folds, and things that are just really easy and quick folds. That's why I always kind of gravitated toward UPBaby, like the Cruise. I think is I talk about it in the course, in the father figured course, but I think that's like if I were to nail down one, it'd probably be that one. At a recent trade show that we were both at, Cybex had one with a new one. It's I think this is going to be something to look forward to in the future, but it's a carbon fiber frame, right? So it functioned like a full-size stroller, gave you the capabilities of a full-size stroller, but because it's carbon fiber and not aluminum, it drastically cut down the weight to a subcompact weight option, which is closer to the 12 to 15 pound mark, whereas full sizes and doubles are gonna usually fall somewhere between the 23 to 28 pound range, right? So a carbon fiber, I forgot what that was. That the Cybex Melios? Do you remember what that one was called?
Yeah, it was the Cybex Melios, and the frame alone I think was under 5 pounds or somewhere in there.
Right.
I remember picking it up and folding it, and it was unbelievably lightweight. Again, I mean, the whole thing was built from carbon fiber.
Yeah.
So it was wild to feel something that was light, because we have like a Colugo compact. We have a couple of we have a Peg Perigo Vivace frame that I'm testing right now that's aluminum, that's super light. But it doesn't even hold a candle to the weight of this carbon fiber frame.
Right. So, I mean, Ben took a picture of me at the show. I literally picked the whole thing up with one hand, and I had it like I picked it up like a football. It was nothing. So
yeah,
the
you
fact
held it
that,
like up over your head. It was crazy.
It was so cool for that to be, to have an option that functions like a full size, where you've got the full basket space, you've got large wheels, so it's somewhat terrain capable, but still lightweight, so that I'm coming in and out of my car very easily, opening it up, getting my kids loaded very quickly. That was a really awesome thing to find. So I like slimmer folds and compact and slimmer compact folds that are still full sizes, right? Not that subcompact market where we're talking about like the Menu, the Colugo, like you mentioned, or something like the Bugaboo Butterfly. Like I like the slimmer folds. Another brand that I'm very high on are not Baby Jogger. Well, Baby Jogger is great. It's Baby Jogger. It's City. The City like options like the City Select. They have a really, really good slim fold on all of their strollers. Very good terrain capability. And then another brand it would be Britax. Britax has strollers that have a really slim fold, somewhat lightweight, maybe a little bit on the heavier side there. But I love slimmer folds. Now, they're brands like Nuna or Bugaboo, Silver Cross. These are all premium options, right? They're offering things somewhere in the $800 plus territory. But when I fold them down, they're chonky, right? I'm not, and that bothers.
Yeah, they're big.
Me. That's just, for a lot of people, it doesn't bother them. That's fine. They got big ass wheels and it's great, and they don't care. Yeah, I need it to be smaller, and also my wife is doing, I would say, a majority of the getting in and out, and she's small. She's 5'2", 5'3", and so she needs it to be light and quick for her as well. So, for that reason, that's like kind of the biggest factor. How slim, how light is it? And then another thing I've kind of hinted on a little bit is like I need it to be terrain capable, because sure, we stroll very smooth surfaces at Target or whatever store, but we do kind of go off into grass and trails a little bit. So we need something that can handle a little bit more terrain, have a little bit more suspension, but we don't want. I don't want like air-filled tires, like something like from the brand like Bumble Ride, right? Which I love that brand too. But and they do have slim folds, but air-filled tires, a little bit more. I don't know, maintenance is just not something I care for. So a little bit more terrain capable, and all the brands that I just mentioned, Baby Jogger with their City, because Baby Jogger started off as a jogging. They created the OG jogging stroller. They've kind of taken their designs and implemented it into the City. Daily strollers, so they've got great terrain capability. Their internal components, the components that make it fold and collapse, and those pivoting joints, all those from premium brands are made better. They're simply made better than Kiko, Graco, all those brands that sometimes a pivoting joint might snap internally or something like that, right? Because they're just made better, and that's why you're paying a higher premium on some of these strollers. I'm sorry, man, I just kind of went off on a big tangent. That's huge. I think that encompasses a lot of things that like we looked for. So even before I got into like reviewing kids stuff, right, like baby gear,
one of the things I found that was a big factor for us in looking at a stroller were a couple of things. So the first one was the weight. So how much is this going to weigh? Is my wife going to be able to move it around quickly and easily? The second was build quality. So if I picked it up and moved it around, folded, unfolded, how did it feel? Did it feel cheap? Did it feel, I think sometimes we associate lightweight with cheapness. It depends on the material and how it's put together. Did the fold feel smooth? Was it an easy fold, or were there points where it didn't make sense ergonomically? I think there were a couple strollers we folded at the show where we folded probably dozens, hundreds of strollers, and it felt a little bit off. It wasn't what we expected. The engineering was slightly different, and that requires your body to learn a different pattern.
Right.
And when you're either holding a kid or you have a bunch of groceries and you're in a rush, sometimes that change in patterning, in motor patterns, is going to cause you to have to think for a second. And that's an additional stressor. That's an additional thought process you have to go through to use your baby gear. And I don't want to deal with that personally.
Right.
And I know for us, like, our biggest focus is typically not, lightness, slimness, because, so to give you a clue, and again, a lot of this is personal preference and your lifestyle. We live in the suburbs for sure. I drive a pickup truck, so I have a huge amount of space in the back. I don't care. I mean, I put Veer wagons and, full-size Up-A-Baby Vistas with double seats on them in the back of my truck all the time. My wife drives a Grand Cherokee L, so she has a larger SUV as well, so we have a lot of space in the back of that. So our stroller preference is typically bigger, heavier duty, might have, bigger wheels, bigger tires, might have a more rugged suspension. Again, because like our kids are just, well, at least our son is super rough on everything that we have. And we want to know that we can take it anywhere and do anything with it. So if we want to go, walk through a lot of the greenways around here, they might have, unpaved trails that are a little bit rough. You might be going over tree roots and doing things like that. We might be, we're driving distance to Savannah, Georgia. So that's all cobblestone streets. It's all very kind of old, rough surfaces. We want to know that it can handle that. So for us, the things we gravitate towards are like, we have an Up-A-Baby Vista, which, is like the quintessential. You go to any high-end mall and you see a lot of moms in their yoga pants pushing their Vistas around. That's kind of the quintessential suburban mom stroller. But the thing is built like a tank. Yeah. And it feels every bit of it, right? It's heavy. The joints are very solid. You look at the locking mechanisms that are used to unfold it, and it's aluminum. I mean, you're seeing metal on metal contact that's kind of keeping the whole thing put together. I mentioned earlier we did that giveaway with Veer and the Veer switch and roll system, right? Like, you feel that, and the whole thing feels just very well built. You look at the welds are smooth. There's not a lot of, slag on them or any kind of like rough patches. They're just very well put together.
Yeah.
So that's really the kind of thing that we're looking for.
So like it's cool. Like you and I have, like, even though we both live in suburbs, we have two different approaches for what is ideal for us. And that's why when you're watching like reviews or videos of me, right, or guys like Ben or Baby List or Magic Beans or whatever you're watching on YouTube, trying to be like, hey, what's the best thing? It's just we can only give you so much because we don't know you, right? If Ben were to come to me and like, hey, this is me, like, I don't care if it's tanky, right? I'm okay with a little bit of weight as long as, it is terrain capable, has a little bit more rigidity and longevity to it, right? So, I mean, hearing that, I'd be like, you know what? Probably something more like, I don't know, Bugaboo Fox single would be good for you. Maybe something like a donkey, right? Bigger, more hassle, but like, hey, it's size doesn't matter. This thing is going to be, is going to give you the ability to traverse a lot of different terrain, and it's going to be able to last you quite a long time, get banged up, go through travel with you through TSA or whatever, right? And come out unscathed and be fine, right? So, again, what we're saying right now might not be relevant to you. Some of you guys are like, you know what? No, I want ultra compact. I want Bugaboo Dragonfly or up a mini or something like just small all the time because that's what I want. I don't care. We don't need a basket size. We need 0 basket space. Like okay, cool.
Right.
So it's always going to change. But for me, again, I like compact form, lightweight, with just enough functionality to be able to function as a daily. Ben is down for
I like the big
tank.
boys. Yeah, I like the big boys, man. We have a Veer stroller or Veer stroller wagon.
Yeah, the
with
switchback
all
is
the
great.
attachments.
Yeah.
We've been testing out that switchback, which has been fantastic. We have a Vista double stroller. We're also testing the Peg Parago Yipsy stroller as a double as well.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit lighter weight. I haven't gotten into that one quite as much, so we're gonna kind of check out the build quality and all that.
Let me just address something real quick. So I get that question a lot. Hey, Peg Parago Yipsy, Peg Parago. Okay, Peg Parago's an Italian brand, right? That's where they're based out of. I think it's a good brand. Okay, I have nothing really bad to say about the brand. They're fine. If just to address like the question that I always get though, like why don't you prefer the Yipsy over whatever? To the point that Ben said, right? There are a couple things when it comes to like the feel of the fold or the feel of the push, the way just subtle things, the way canopy opens up, just whatever. And it's just personal preference. I like the way the other brands operate a little bit better. You're right. I like the way the Cybex feels a little bit better. I like the way I'm sorry, not Maxi Cozy. Baby joggers feel a little bit better. Yeah, it's just and they're they're competing at a similar price point as as Upanuna, those kind of brands. And if I'm going to spend $700 on a stroller or whatever, I'd opt for one of the others that I mentioned over Peg Parago Yipsy. It's not me slamming it.
It's those little niggling things, those little like how a harness rethreads through a seat. Like that's a big one. Like your kid's going to grow and change. How a harness rethreads through a seat is something you don't think about a lot because you're not going to do it a ton. But when you go to do it, it's going to drive you nuts if it's a complicated system or if it's a system that just isn't designed very well.
Yeah.
Straps that are a little bit too long. Like that's what I'm finding with certain brands is like you tighten down a strap for an infant and all of a sudden you have, 4 feet of strap hanging off the infant car seat. And I'm not super tall, but like I'm still, kicking a strap underneath the stroller. It's those little things that get frustrating, and it's kind of, again, it's going to be personal preference. Can you deal with that? Is that going to bother you? I think we probably have a certain point of view because we've touched so many strollers at this kind of price point that it's like, you don't have to deal with that because there's 7 other brands at the same price point that are going to give you something a little bit different. But if that's your thing that you love and you can deal with having a strap that's too long or harnesses that aren't as soft or a fold that's a little bit weird and that's the only one you want, then go for it.
Right.
But yeah, like you said, anybody that's going to do a review is going to bring their personal bias into it. And I know for me, one big thing is like basket size is a real issue for me because like I like to carry a backpack with all my kids' stuff in it.
Yeah.
And I know we're going to throw in like we're potty training. So like the travel potty is going to go underneath there. Like there's probably going to be, a fan for the stroller under there. Yeah. We're hauling so much junk with us all the time that like I want a full size stroller with a big ass basket that's going to fit everything I could ever need so that I don't have to go back to my truck and get something.
Let me ask you something. So when you go grocery shopping, are you using a shopping cart and then putting the, baby in a car seat or are you using your stroller as a shopping cart? Like how, like that task there. How do you go about that?
If I'm by myself, I'll bring our Veer wagon and I'll use it as a grocery cart.
Okay,
because
that's
I
good.
Get a kid, and I can put groceries in there, and it works out really, really well. I really enjoy that. Like I did a Costco run the other day with my daughter, and I put her in her car seat, strapped her right in, used that as my basket. I was good to go. If it's just a super quick grocery run, sometimes I'll use the stroller. Most of the time, though, if we're doing a grocery run, we're like right next to my kid's daycare. And so I'll have the older one with me. He can walk. And then I just don't, he gets a mini cart and I get a big cart and we're good to go. But yeah, if I'm by myself and I have like the little one, I'll just pop the Veer wagon back there because I know I can use that as my grocery getter.
Veer Wagon is honestly one of the coolest baby products that you can get. I think it's so unique. I think it's really cool. I love how it can adapt to so many situations and grow with your kids. If I were to just make one improvement, I would love to see better suspension on like a V2. I would love to see it being able to take a little bit more bounce. And with, especially like on gravel, it's bumpy. Sure. Because if you think about how you're using it, sure, you're using it in like grocery stores, but sometimes you're using it outdoors on trails or, pushing it through a grass field to get to an event, and in that case, you can really tell that it is a bumpier ride. And it's somewhat okay too, because it does have a wide wheelbase on one of the sides. And it's pretty good. So it's, that helps. But if it just had a little bit more spring to it, I think the suspension could have a bump up. But I mean,
what I would love to see as an accessory?
What's up?
Because the wheels pop on and off.
Yeah.
Is a sand wheel.
Yeah, that would be cool.
A sand wheel.
You
see those sand carts with like the big, they almost look like balloons.
Yeah,
they're just big inflatable wheels.
They're like the air-filled
just
ones.
Pop off, right.
Huge.
But just be able to pop off the kind of normal all-terrain wheels and put on like a true sand wheel.
Yeah, exactly. I call them like the Veer fatties,
because I feel like that's an easy swap out. Yeah, the fatties.
Yeah,
slap the fatties on, go down the beach.
Oh gosh,
be great.
That would be really, really cool. But
they'd be like $200.
Listen, to just kind of like wrap up this thing. We've talked about strollers up to this point. If you want to know more, I would suggest you just go onto the Dad Verb or the Father Figured course that we have on dadverb.com. Really, when you're looking at strollers, that's one thing. Really, your buying decisions should kind of start with a car seat, though. Okay, because that's the main. Like a stroller is a thing to get you from point A to point B. I mean, and it helps on a daily basis. But the car seat impacts safety, right? That impacts protecting your child in addition to transport. So, starting with a car seat is usually the first step, and then finding the right travel system to go with the car seat, because you might like one seat, one stroller. But say you liken up a baby stroller, but you really want the Nuna car seat, right? So it's like, okay, so that's going to have an impact on your buying decision. I'm not going to open up that door right now because that's a whole thing, and we've done plenty of videos on that. If you have any questions, sure, comment them down below, or leave a comment on Spotify or Apple, wherever you're listening. It's the comment button is going to be right next to the 5-star rating button, so you can go ahead and click that too while you're down there.
Hit them both at once.
Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, that's kind of the bigger thing, when it comes to, registering for baby stuff or buying. I would typically actually start with the car seat. But, that was our thought process on strollers. Ben, we're gonna round out our show here with something that we've learned. Is that right?
Yeah. So what is something you learned this week or last week? And it can be related to anything, cool fact. It could be something you learned about yourself, something, that improved your life in some manner, your relationships. What's something you learned?
There are a couple things. If we do this segment again next week, I'll probably dive into it more. But for this one, I'm actually just going to keep it simple. I forgot how impatient I am. I've kind of grown accustomed to kids being a little bit older, or 4-year-old, 6-year-old being, like, okay, they can listen better. They're a little bit more independent. Right. They're good to go. But with our now toddler walking around screaming nonstop, I forgot how like impatient I am with people who cannot process things because their brain isn't ready to process like advanced concepts, like stay quiet in a library kind of a thing. They just want to scream and do. And I'm like, this is infuriating. Oh my gosh, I forgot that I cannot control
Zero impulse control.
There's zero. Yeah. And I'm like, so I gotta like calm myself down a little bit and just be like, okay, no. This is, we've done this twice. We know how this is. you're set in your ways of just kind of like these kids who can just do whatever and be more independent, being a lot more hands-on, playing a lot more defense with the toddler. We're in it again, and I just completely forgot how impatient I am. So if leading on, if there's something that I need to improve on, work on, it really is taking a step back, taking a deep breath, and being like, no, this is the stage that she's going to be in for the next few months, probably the next 10, 12 months. This is how it's going to be. Yeah. It's just that toddler grind is not easy. So yeah, just kind of really come to terms with it, because she just started walking and really has blossomed as a toddler at that 13-month mark. So
it's amazing how fast that comes up. Once they figure out how to walk, like their development accelerates just exponentially.
Unbelievable.
And they do not stay out of anything. Everything's fair game. They want to be into it. They want to touch it, eat it, whatever it is. They're in it.
Oh yeah, they and it's just they're learning so many new skills, and they just want to put those skills to the test and really push. And then it starts to affect her sleep. She's had a hard time going to sleep lately, compared to how it was just a couple of weeks ago. And it's just because she's just developing so rapidly, and there's just so much going on in that brain. There's so much growth, so much excitement and just exploration, and it's challenging for me because I just want to chill. So we're back in it. So it's for me, just all about patience. What about you, man?
Mine is kind of along the same lines. Patience, and one of the things I learned this week is we're on the verge of having a 3-year-old. So he'll be 3 in August, and he's very smart, very articulate. I think he feels emotions very deeply. And I think just now he's starting to have a hard time realizing like how much time mom and dad have to spend with his baby sister, right? 'Cause she needs a lot. She always needs to be fed, changed, clothed, whatever it is. And I don't think he understands. I know that he doesn't understand why that is. And so his way of getting our attention is, throwing something or climbing shelves in the pantry or doing things he knows he's not supposed to do. So we've been getting a lot of really pushed boundaries lately of him just straight up telling us no. Hey, go do this. No, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to. Okay, well, how do we deal with that? So one of the things, we've talked about this on the podcast before. We don't believe in spanking our kids. We do our best not to yell or raise our voices because we don't think it's effective.
Right.
That doesn't mean that we're not triggered to the point where we want to do those things, right? It's learning that self-control.
Yeah, we're human, man.
And so one of the things we worked on really this week, and it was just kind of a new approach that, and again, this is going to sound like super soft parenting, but I promise you it works, and it brings, I think, a deeper connection with my son especially. So what I've challenged myself to do is usually when he's misbehaving and when I most think that man, if I could just spank him, this would fix the situation or would stop him from doing this, or if I could just yell at him and really just lose it, like I really want to lose my temper. What I've challenged myself to do now is at that point to know that I'm frustrated and I'm having a hard time and he's frustrated and he's having a hard time, is to actually open myself up to like physical contact with him and say, look, I know you're having a hard time. Is it okay if I give you a hug? Is it okay if I pick you up? Is it okay if, do you want to give me a hug? And a lot of times the answer recently has been, no, don't touch me. Leave me alone. Like literally my 2-year-old's looking at me saying, leave me alone. Don't touch me. Go away. Mm-hmm. And so we went through this whole scenario the other day where he was just absolutely losing his mind. And I just sort of sat down and squatted down on the floor. And I just said, it seems like you're having a hard time. If you feel like you need a hug, I'm here. I said, I'm going to open my arms. I'm just going to sit here. I'm not going to grab you or touch you. But if you decide that you need a hug, I'm here. And so, he gave me the go away, don't touch me, leave me alone, blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, well, I'm just going to sit here. I'm not going to touch you. And eventually he just sort of looked at me and he was going through his sort of tantrum. And then he stood up and he just like walked over. And he was sort of this immediate like relaxation. Like he walked over and he just wrapped his arms around my neck. And I said, is it okay if I hug you back? Are you all right with that? And he was like, yes. And so I gave him a hug back. And then he sort of like, you could feel him relax a little bit. And sort of it broke the tension. And, it doesn't work every single time. But the thing that it made me realize is that so many times, and a lot of this comes from listening. If you guys haven't listened to the Good Inside podcast with Dr. Becky, if you really want to feel like get some incredible parenting strategies, like she is it. I mean, she's like my new thing I listen to all the time when I go into work.
Yeah, man.
But a lot of that I pulled from her. So I just opened myself to that physical contact, to that closeness, to like co-regulate with him. Like he's dysregulated. He's not able to control his emotions, and allowing myself to go, I can't raise him based on my triggers, like the things that trigger me and make me upset. I have to raise him based on the values that I want him to have. And so if I want him to have that value and be able to have the emotional intelligence to manage his feelings, I have to be able to do the same thing and set that example and say, okay, when I'm dysregulated, what can I do?
Right.
And so that was like my this sort of big revelation. Yeah.
They will follow in your footsteps.
It doesn't work all the time. It's really new. Right. It's really new. We're just kind of trying it out, but it seems to be, now when I've seen him get dysregulated and get really upset, the first thing he's starting to do now is like actually come in for a hug. Like he just comes in and he's like, pick up. He goes, pick up. And okay. All right. So we pick him up and he'll just wrap in and just kind of sit there with you. And then, the thing that I want to improve on next week is like, to continue to try and do that, because like, I'm not trying to say it's a magic pill and I don't lose my patience. Like I absolutely lost it on him the other morning because I was trying to feed the baby and get him dressed and get everybody out the door to school, and I'm late for work, and it's just the stress is piling, and he's running around the chair and not paying attention. And I'm just like, I finally was just like, get over there and get dressed and put your clothes on, and I need you to cooperate. Like I just lost it on him. And finally, we came downstairs later, and I ended up apologizing to him because I was like, I shouldn't have spoken to you like that. It wasn't nice. It didn't help the situation. But, we've all been there, and all we can do is try and get better. So that's my big improvement, is like you, right? Trying to figure out how to be more patient in the moments where you have no patience or time to be patient.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, you laid out some scenarios where I'm like, yeah, I've been there. It's not easy, and like we're not the experts. We just kind of go through it, and we kind of learn what we learn, and we'll share those experiences with you. But like Ben said, Dr. Becky is like, I've been listening to her podcast for a long time. She's got great strategies and tips to kind of dealing with feelings and emotions, and where you feel powerless and where you feel like you can't negotiate. There's like good strategies there. I still haven't signed up for her course yet because I feel like I've gotten plenty of content just from her podcast and her Instagram and all that stuff. Just listening to
a 30-minute podcast.
I think it's like worth it. I think it's like an $80 course or whatever, and you have like, I think you should have like lifetime access or whatever, maybe yearly, but like I feel like it's worth it. I think I might subscribe to it. I think it's worth it. So, but yeah, for any guys out there who might be struggling with that, right? I think there's some good expert, because she's like an actual doctor with like
she is an actual expert in child psychology.
And, like
all these strategies for sure.
Exactly. So I would
even she admits to losing her temper with her kids. She's literally a professional. She's like, I lose my temper on my kids all the time. It happens. So if Dr. Becky loses her temper, not saying it's okay, we shouldn't strive to be better, but it happens, and we just have to reconcile and move forward. So,
dude, if you follow her,
maybe you and I work on that. We'll try and get her on the podcast.
Oh my gosh, that'd be a dream guest right there, dude. It's funny if you follow 100%. Her on Instagram. There are plenty of times where she lives in New York, and she's like walking to her office. She's like, all right, so this morning I freaked out on my daughter, and I saw them doing this, right? Or I walked in and my kids were doing this. here's what I did instead. And as she like kind of talks through like her process that happened like literally that morning, like real life examples. And sometimes it doesn't go as well, or like she'll be like, here's what I should have done, when she's able to like kind of pull herself out of the situation. But a lot of good parenting advice there. But yeah, man, we're coming up on an hour. I think we should probably close things out here, and probably do revisit some of these segments again next week. See if we were able to improve on the patients and kind of the things that we just talked about. And I think that'd be really cool. It's a fun segment for sure.
Gosh, what are we going to title this episode? We covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, what?
So we covered like Father's Day, sex and intimacy, what we look for in strollers, and how we can be better dads.
You know what? I've seen
podcasts.
I've seen podcasts like there's a podcast like the Vergecast, right? It's a tech podcast, which, by the way, in a recent episode, they gave Dad Verb a shout out. There's some listener who's like, "Hey, where do you guys find like dad reviews or whatever?" And the host of the Vergecast was like, "And I trust this guy named Dad Verb on YouTube." I'm like, "Oh, okay,
that's awesome,
so
man."
That was fun.
That's
I got
wild.
like a couple Instagram DMs. They're like, "Yo, you got a shout out." But anyway, yeah, the guys like the Vergecast, the titles of their podcasts are just like. It's like 5 different things. It's like the Apple MacBook Pro, Reddit doing this, and it's just like multiple titles. I'm like, all right, so should we do that? Like Father's Day, relationships, strollers. I don't know. Maybe I should start doing that. Okay, honestly, I don't.
Hey, man, it's all dad related.
I know how to optimize content for like YouTube or Instagram. Like I get that. I have like when it comes to like analytics reporting and like title optimization for like podcasts, no idea, no clue. Like so I feel like we could just name it whatever and
see how it goes.
There's gonna be no impact. So
throw it out there, see how it goes. That's all
we'll
we can
figure
do.
this out. We'll figure it out. Anyway, guys, thank you for listening and watching. Please, if you don't mind, give us that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts from. That would really help us and help dads find this podcast, and hopefully you can grow a awesome community of listeners. Again, if you have any questions, please comment them in the YouTube comment section, or you can comment them on, I don't know where, but like I've seen them coming through Spotify. So like, if you want to give us a shout out there, go ahead and do that.
Yeah, comments, reviews, leave them. We love to see them. We read them. If you guys have questions, that's how we pull a lot of content for the show. So if you want to know or have us talk about a certain topic or get our opinion on something, leave it out there because we will use it as fodder for an upcoming episode.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, thank you guys, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.